Fight, 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 fight.
Hypocrisy.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Law-Splaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. How are we doing tonight? I hope you guys are doing well. Hope you're doing well. We've got this holiday coming up tomorrow or whatever. Thanksgiving, where you give thanks. So, yeah. Do people do the like giving thanks thing anymore? I mean, I know that like we'd sometimes do that as a family when I was a kid, where it's like go around and say something you're thankful for. As a kid, you're like Battletoads. As an adult, you're like, the crushing weight of existence wanes from time to time. But do people do that? I mean, to me, I don't even think of it as Thanksgiving until that gets brought up. Usually I'm just thinking about turkey. And I think that's fine. I just like, I just like eating. One day a year, I like to eat. Well, I like food. But I really like to eat on Thanksgiving. It's got my favorite combinations of foods. Some people don't like turkey. That's weird to me. I definitely like turkey. God, I like turkey. So tomorrow, of course, I have to cook a turkey because, that's what you got to do. So you got to like wake up early and get everything ready. Prep the turkey, or I could prep it part way tonight. I don't want to do that. Super not into doing anything related to that or anything else right now. So it's like, how much work do I want to put into this? But I do like turkey's my favorite. It's my favorite holiday food. It's one of my favorite meats. I mean, I like steak, obviously. Steak is delicious. And I think it's the artificial scarcity of eating turkey that makes it so good. But if you fuck up a turkey, it sucks. Don't get me wrong. If you do not cook a turkey well, you end up with a dried out husk or an undercooked, like rubbery turkey. Either one of those is bad. Bad. But you cook them just right. They're juicy. They're wonderful. I just like roast turkeys. I know people do the different, like they'll smoke them, deep fry them. I like all that too, but something about a roast turkey. And yeah, you got to keep basting it. I separate the skin from the main carcass. Like I don't take it off, but you just got to get your hands up in there, like find the crevices and be like, here you go, girl. And you got to get in there. And then you open that up and then you start shoving butter and salt and bullshit between the skin and the meat. I don't do stuffing in a turkey. One, because I don't like dressing or stuffing. I think both are awful. You guys can like them. Fatsos eating bread. I shove a bunch of apple slices, orange slices, onion, garlic, and herbs into the bird and let that perfume the bird from the inside as it roasts. That's how I prefer to do it. But, you do whatever the hell you want. I'll do what I want. I'm really looking forward to eating turkey. I think that's the main thing here. I'm looking forward to eating turkey. I'm not looking forward to all the bullshit I have to do to make the turkey to eat it, but I am looking forward to eating it. So that's what I'm thankful for, is eating the turkey. I'm not thankful for making it, but I am thankful for eating it already in advance. We're not going to talk about Thanksgiving, though. We're not going to do this. We're not going to sit here and be like, let's reflect on the upcoming holiday. We're not going to do that. I just hope all of you have something to do. Someone to see, something to eat, whatever you want to do. Like if you're one of those people who likes to watch football and go to bed, cool. I hope you get to do that. If you're one of the people who is like me, where you do the sleeping thing, and whether football or anything else on is irrelevant, great, do that. Or if you're like a busy person who does stuff on the holiday, or if you're one of those people though, if you're one of those people who goes, you know what? I'm going to eat this turkey. We're going to settle down. I'll clean up tomorrow. I'm just going to rest. And someone goes, all right, it's time. And you're like, I'm sorry. What do you mean it's time? What do you mean it's time? And they're like, oh, well, we're going to go. And you're like, go shopping, to a movie, do whatever. Because now stores open on Thanksgiving. And you're like, what the hell do you mean go? I don't want to go to a store. I don't want to go to a movie. I don't want to go to an event. I don't want to go hear Christmas Carol. I just want to stop and sit down. So if you're one of those people who on Thursday, your whole day, you're like, I got to do all this shit. And then I'm going to sit down though. I'm going to enter a food coma until I wake up from that. And then I'm going to shove a whole apple pie in my mouth. And then I'm going to go back to sleep. That's what you want to do. And somebody's going to drag your ass off the couch and make you drive. Because that's what they always do, right? Oh, we got to go. What do you mean we? Like, you go. Oh, no, we got to do this. We don't have to do anything. You can do whatever you want. I'm going to die here on the beach called a couch. And that's going to be the rest of my day. And they're like, no, you need to drive. Like, I don't want to drive. Pro tip, gentlemen, if you want to get out of this, I've never tried this, but I just thought of it. If you are suspicious that you are about to be forced to drive somewhere against your will on Thanksgiving after turkey, might I suggest drinking a ton of liquor the moment they say that? Like, oh, we got to go. You're like, oh, wait, I got to get one more like plate of Thanksgiving food because I was saving up for round 4 or whatever. I got to get one more plate of Thanksgiving food. And they'll be like, why do you have a bowl? Like, don't worry about it. You shred up some turkey, a little tiny bit, not much. You're full already. So you gotta be plausible. Like, well, we're out of plates. So I got this bowl. You shred up some turkey and then you fill it up and you make turkey whiskey cereal. And then you just drink that like a fucking savage. Be like, make me drive now. Just try that. That's how you get out of this. That's how you do it. I'll see you at the store in hell. What if that's your normal divining rod? Well, then you already know. You don't need to worry about this. Why do you lick the bottle? Well, because if you pour liquor out of it, there's a little drip that goes down. You don't want to waste it. It's a good drip of liquor. Also, it just became a part of the show forever ago. Just a little facet of me. All right. So to those who do that, I will see you at your funeral. I don't usually drink at any holiday functions for the very specific reason that I'm usually going to have to drive somewhere right after. So it's like, oh, we're going to have dinner. It's like, well, then we're going to go to the in-laws or then we're going to go here, there. It's like, well, okay. But also whiskey doesn't really go with turkey to me. Whiskey goes with steak. I'm sure there's another liquor that goes with turkey. I just don't know what it would be. I've never tried. And I don't do beer. I know a lot of people drink beer on Thanksgiving because they're watching the game or whatever. That's cool. Not my thing. So yeah, I don't usually drink on Thanksgiving because I always have something to do. Okay, what the fuck? Speaking of drinking, I've got a new bottle of whiskey I'm going to try, but it's being a bitch right now. It doesn't want to open. But what we're going to talk about tonight is, again, not Thanksgiving. I just wanted to, give a little Thanksgiving wishes or whatever as you guys enter your holiday. Oh, if you're not American, ignore everything I just said. Tomorrow for you is just Thursday. But I knew this shirt was going to get so much commentary tonight. That's why I wore it. It's also cozy as fuck. But yeah, we've got some other subjects. So first we're going to do one of my favorite subjects right now, which is just emerging confusion over how to apply the Bruen case to Second Amendment questions. Because states do not like the Bruen Supreme Court case, right? They don't like it. They do not like this idea that they cannot be little tyrants over their gun laws. and it's pretty consistently applied favorably to kind of our normal understanding of the Second Amendment. There's some bad rulings that pop out. That one in the Seventh Circuit in Illinois was really bad over the quote unquote assault weapons. That was bad, but most of them are pretty good. We got one today from Maryland that is good. We're going to talk about it a little bit, but it's really going to be a vehicle to talk a little bit more just about how much the country's struggling with the Second Amendment question. And I don't know. It's weird and interesting to me that it's such a struggle, because for some people, they're like, we desperately need to remove the guns. And you're like, why? Why is it? They're like, well, people get killed. It's like, well, people get killed all the time. It's not the guns. I mean, if guns aren't there, some other way gets people killed. And then you'll always get some goddamn Brit who's like, well, we don't have as many guns. We don't have as many. It's like, fuck off. Like, you don't have, well, you're learning. You don't have demographic diversity in the same way the United States does. Actually, most countries don't. And what you find is the closer you come to demographic homogeneousness, I think it's homogeneity. The closer you come to that, a weird thing happens is that crime kind of decreases in general. Now, obviously you get outliers and you get aberrant results from that. It really depends a lot on industrialization, on westernization, stuff like that. If you have places that go kind of fucking backwards, remain extremely tribalistic, and ultimately, have been locked in civil war forever. Well, crime isn't really your problem. Your political opposition is your problem, because they're just going to fucking murder you. But it won't be a crime. It'll be an act of war. So that's a different thing. But when you get to this demographic homogeneity, I think tribalism in general does take over. Different kind of tribalism than I'm talking about, just like the desire to be with the same and to avoid the other, that kind of pervades human society, creates this pocket of reduced overall catastrophic violence. It's not always true, but it seems to kind of improve things in some way. But the U.S., I mean, we have some specific factors that lead to a higher crime rate. It's not the guns, though. Like, the higher crime rate exists across a bunch of categories. And a lot of the violent crime is really specifically limited to this drug trade, which is propagated in large part by the war on drugs, which is the United States government being stupid. So that's like a whole different question as to what needs to be happening there, and why that is. But people think, oh, well, if we just get rid of the guns, then we'll stop all this crime from happening where people are getting killed. It's like, no, bro, that's not going to work, because they always do this, and they always use like mass shootings or spree killings or whatever as their barometer for why crime is bad. But it's such an outlier minority amount of overall murders in the United States. It's crazy that becomes like, oh, it's another school shooting. It's like, well, yeah, those are tragic and they're alarming and jarring, but those are not anywhere near representative of murder in the United States. It's a much smaller scale. So, but because there's always someone who's like, we just got to take the guns away. We're constantly in this tug of war between that little idea that you have rights, and then this desire to take other people's guns because you're afraid that someone's going to get shot. Like, well, someone's going to get shot. Stop being afraid of it. Start embracing it. Embrace modernity. And then the other thing is, it's really easy. Some people think like if they have guns in their house that they're going to shoot someone, or like the gun's going to be like, just don't shoot someone. That works for most people, actually, the overwhelming majority. But we're going to talk about that. This Maryland handgun licensing scheme is gone. Then I got a little article about public schools failing, which just warms my cockles. I think that's a holiday expression we can use on it. And the reason it really does, though, is because they're like, after COVID, public schools are devastated. And, chronic absenteeism is way up, and everything comes down to COVID. What they can't figure out, why schools would possibly be failing, and why kids are possibly skipping school, and why parents just don't seem to value what's going on. It's like, yeah, it's the COVID that did it. That's what it is. It has nothing to do with what you're actually doing in a school. It can't be you guys. And we're going to read through it. The reasons that come out about it are amazing. Do you guys know that teachers are overworked? You guys know, you hear that? You hear that teachers, the 9-month-a-year profession, they're overworked, guys. Overworked and underpaid, apparently. So, I guess. It's, again, nothing, couldn't be any other reason. It's all the things that you've heard of. So the way we're going to fix the school, obviously we got to hire more administrators. We got to pay them more so they can decide to pay the teachers more. We have to have higher taxes. We have to have tighter, attendance requirements, harsher penalties for parents. We got to just force people into these schools. It couldn't possibly be curriculum issues. It couldn't be the fact that they're not actually teaching kids. Couldn't be the fact that kids would learn just as well, literally sitting in front of a fucking TV all day as they would in probably 95% of public schools, that they would learn the same shit if you just gave them YouTube. That's how bad public schools have gotten. But no, it's COVID that did it. So we're going to talk about that because I love that subject so much. So much. It's sitting right in front of you. How to fix the public school system is sitting right in front of anybody. And it's the easiest solution in the world. We'll talk about it. Then we've got Mizzy, the TikToker prankster, the UK kid who was he would just walk into people's houses in England, right? Remember that guy while on TikTok, be like, "Hey, what's up?" Like as if it didn't matter. He's actually going to jail for his antics, but not really. He's not actually going to jail for the pranks that he did that were clearly illegal. He's going to jail for violating his court order to not upload videos. And the shit the judge says it blows your mind. You wonder, you're like, how are judges? This is an English judge, so it's not an American, which doesn't make it better. They're all the same. Like, how are they like this? How are they like this? How do they constantly fail to see like that their view on reality is so much different than what matters? And so we'll talk about that a little bit. I don't know if people care about Mizzy. I didn't even know his name. I just knew him as that guy who went into houses. And then I saw the article about him actually going to jail. And I was like, oh, that's good. And then I read it and I was like, swing and a miss. Swing and a miss. But finally, though, Trump is appealing his verdict, his judgment against him from E. Jean Carroll, the woman he allegedly groped in a store that he claims to have never met or anything prior to the trial. He is appealing that, and the article, the commentary I grabbed from it, you can't call it an article, is from the Above the Law blog. And I thought that that's a great place to hear about it, because Above the Law is a blog for lawyers who, are all the same. They're all the fucking same. All these people are the same. They're all the same, guys. They're all the same. I don't know how else to say it. Lawyers have this high propensity of being the same, no matter who they are, where you find them. And I kind of hate it. Because you'll see people say lawyers suck or whatever. And I'm first to agree. They're some of the worst people you'll ever meet on balance and with high levels of consistency. And that goes all over the place. That doesn't change where you are or like how you encounter them. Pretty much universally shit. So we're gonna talk about that though, and we're gonna have this this whiny bitch from the Above the Law blog complaining about Trump's appeal and some of the stuff in it. So those are the main subjects for tonight. And we'll get wherever we go. I don't expect to do a long show. Yesterday ended up being a long show. I really enjoyed that show with Avi. And I hope you guys did too. I thought it was great. I like getting to know her at the beginning of the show. I know not everybody enjoys that part. of interviews. Usually the first time I do an interview with someone on the channel, I want to get to know them, have the audience get to know them a little bit. And I know some people are like, get to the P. Diddy lawsuit. Well, I mean, I don't know. Can we ease our way in a little bit? Like, can you buy your guests dinner first? I mean, come on. But I enjoy talking to people, and I like kind of learning about them, learning their story, and sharing that with you guys. So, and I found her to be a great conversationalist. So it was a lot of fun for me, which of course, this entire channel just serves to feed my own ego and needs. So that's what mattered yesterday. But I thought we had a great show, a lot of fun. And I encourage you to check it out if you haven't yet. Maybe you'll hate it though. Maybe you'll hate it. Who knows? Probably. All right. We have a couple chats that we're going to read, and then we're going to jump into this thing. And again, wherever else we go, who knows? There's a bunch to talk about. The legal facets of the country, I guess, I don't know how to say it. The legal news landscape of America right now is dramatic. It is varied, and it is bussin'. I think that's what the kids say these days. It is busy as shit. And you can get into stuff like trials. There's a bunch of different trials going on that people are watching. I've been focusing a lot on kind of these constitutional issues, these crazy questions around Trump, particularly because he is changing law in real time. I find that to be wildly fascinating, challenging, and defining and redefining law that we've understood one way or not understood at all forever. Trump is finally making law 200 years into our country. That's crazy. So that's what I've been focusing a lot on. But there is a trial I want to cover coming up, the OnlyFans trial, Courtney Clenny. I think it starts next month, and it is one I'm looking to cover. I don't know what the schedule is going to be like. I don't know if I'll have to take days off, but I am planning on, that one is one where I'm planning on covering it. Even if I can't do constant wall-to-wall coverage, I'm going to do my best to do that. Maybe some days I'll have to do coverage at night rather than during the day. We'll see if we can work it out. My schedule this year around my kids' education is not like what it was last year. It's somehow it keeps getting busier, and it's like my sleep schedule is more messed up. My driving schedule is erratic, and my time at home is reduced, which is crazy because I thought it was going to be the opposite. So it's made trial coverage a little bit difficult, but I'm going to try and work this one in specifically, or have to find an alternative way to do it. But hopefully we'll have a lot of fun with that. It's got all the elements of salaciousness that we want. Boone is pushed to 2024. That's the suitcase chick. I don't know if I'll cover the Sarah Boone trial. I watched the video of the guy dying in the suitcase, and it's like, it's just depressing. I don't know. Wasn't like funny. You kind of want it to be funny. Like if you're going to see someone get offed in a terrible way, you want it to at least like make you chuckle a little bit. So we'll see. Kyler says, why doesn't your wife do it if you're making all the money and working? She does. We have 5 children with very, very different and very, very busy schedules. Sorry, that's how we chose to do life. We chose to do that long before this channel started. And so, I found a way to work a schedule that met my life, not redo mine and 6 other people's lives to fit a YouTube schedule. So I know that bothers some people, and I don't know what to tell you. I've never said that people need to be here only to watch trials, and I really appreciate that people enjoy my commentary and perspective on them. And I love to do it when I can. But you make choices in life, and one of them for me was children and a wife. And not everybody who is covering trials has, I don't think anybody has 5 children. And I don't know that anybody has a kid schedule as erratic as mine. My kids all went to public or private school, and I just, had to get them somewhere in the morning and then pick them up in the afternoon. It'd be really easy, but that's not the life we live. It's not the life we wanted. It's not the life that we ended up with. So, yeah, it makes the trial thing complicated, but that was never the design of this channel. That was an accident. It's a happy accident. It started with Rittenhouse, and it's been great, but it's not something I can do all the time. It is what it is, though. But Courtney Clenny is that next trial we're looking to cover here, and I think we'll have a lot of fun with it. So, Jason Angelfire with a huge Rumble rant. Thank you, Jason. Damn. Says, Rikeda, can I get a shout out for my wife? Her, I, and our 4-month-old will be she, I, and our 4-month-old. She, brother, she. Her 4-month-old will be driving to family in the morning when we listen. She's an amazing wife and a wonderful mother. You'll probably make her cry. Yes, to the wife of Jason Angelfire, assumedly recently bringing a young child into the world, endeavoring further down that path of family, endeavoring further down that path of companionship, and pushing towards the enrichment of life at the sacrifice of desire, at the sacrifice of self, knowing that that sacrifice will breed and grow something bigger, heartening, more enlightening, surprising, and more beneficial than any of the things you give up would produce. Cheers to you. A cheers to your husband. A cheers to your child. May you all have a great time visiting family. Stay safe, stay healthy and happy, and enjoy Thanksgiving. Okay, so next we've got in Spizia video says, Jay Liebgott, please ask him to cover the Idaho 4 case, the Kohlberger murder trial. I don't know when that's starting. It is one I've had my eye on, like as a trial to cover. I've not followed the case super closely. Had some updates on stuff that happened with it with Andrea Burkhart. If that comes closer to trial, it is one that I will be looking into, looking to do some catching up on the research for it. And then, of course, possibly covering the trial. The other one, of course, is Maryland Manson. Would be a great trial if that thing ends up going there. I'm watching for that. I remembered today that I was following a case of Mercedes Carrera, an adult film actress who is charged with some horrific crimes in California. She's been in jail forever. I don't know that she's ever gone to trial. And I went to check on it just today. I had the search bookmarked for her trial docket or her court docket, and it was not available from the bookmark. So I have to go find it again, which is not the easiest thing to do. But Mercedes Carrera was how do you categorize her? You categorize her in the MILF category of adult film actress. But she interestingly got involved in YouTube communities on the right during Gamergate, which is weird to think, but that's what happened. And so she went on a lot of shows. I think she was on like the Kill Stream and stuff like that at some point. And, some of the other, maybe JF had her on. I can't remember who all, but she popped around to these channels, talked about Gamergate, kind of stuck around that community, and then all of a sudden was charged with a bunch of child sexual abuse crimes. And they're really, like, the details of them, I don't know how much is public or not. They're not great. And her case looks really fucking bad. That being said, it's I was following it. She would do this thing where she and her lawyer would ask for extensions of times and continuances of the trial delays. And then she actually got on this podcast. Some guy in New York would call her in jail, and she would do interviews with him. And she would complain that she wasn't getting a trial. It's like, bitch, you're asking for continuances through your public defender. So it's very, very weird how that was working out. But that was, that's that. So I am going to look back into that. It's been years now, but it's a trial that she go to. Like, you do not want to go to, because once she goes, so that's going to be a hard case. She's going to be toast, almost guaranteed. They're like the allegations are awful. The witness that is and the accuser are obviously the child, and the state seems to have done the work on producing an effective child accuser, because it's not the easiest thing in the world, depending on the age of the child. you have to ensure that the testimony or the accusations and the evidence that are provided by this young child are produced in a way that it is not easily like coached testimony. It's not the child's not manipulable. There are protections and procedures in place for trying to acquire what you would think of as pure testimony. And that'll be the main course of attack, I'm sure, for her lawyers, is to say, this is unreliable testimony, blah, blah, blah. It's coached, it's produced. There's these other factors involved. But what they really just don't want is the trial, because the accusations alone will probably convict her. It's nasty, nasty stuff. But yeah, I'll check in on that, because it is one I was watching along, and then it just kept getting delayed and delayed and delayed. So I stopped checking. The Squid says, to all the lonely people, happy Skanksgiving. Be sure to pick up a one-night suave at the bar tonight. To everybody else, happy Thanksgiving. Oh my God. Oh my God. Yes, I do always love the locals chat. What the hell is this? So Mandy posts this in locals, and she says, hey, Nick, we got a new coffee machine at work, and I'm wondering why you were on my coffee cup today. And then she posted this picture. I'll share it. Like, honestly, I'm very confused about this. I'm very confused about this. What the hell is that? What's going on? Eric PB says, hey, Nick remembered us. I'm watching the locals chat the entire stream, guys. I just don't always interact in there. Yeah, I don't know where that came from, but that's terrifying to me. It's very weird. So, I don't know. A good find, I guess. I wish I need to sue them for stealing my likeness. We have Lido Enchanted says, happy Thanksgiving, chat. MLS making law simple. He sent a super chat, and it said something about like, thanks, even though you don't like my Lego or something like that. Because I was not able to join he and Valhalla on the Lego stream that they did on Saturday, but it was frankly just, I just couldn't do it. I would have loved to, but I was not able to. Outpost Nerd says, you're right about public schools. Got let go recently for reporting a teacher abusing me and an autistic child. Would love to talk to you about at-will states if teachers fall under at-will employees in Florida. Teachers are almost universally not at will. They're almost universally not at will because their employment agreement is controlled by collective bargaining agreements through unions. So teachers are typically a part of a union, and they're not at will. They're contract employees, and those contracts are negotiated through collective bargaining, whether you're in the union or not. Even if you opt out, your contract is under the union contract, usually. I guess there could be exceptions, but you're probably not an at-will employee. So, I hope that answers your question. Even in Florida, I think that's still true. Mothership says, I'm in need of a miracle. Need an appeal attorney in Minnesota. I can DM you the case to review. Thank you. Yes, DM it to me. If you send me an email or whatever, like put in all caps in the subject. I'm Mothership from YouTube or whatever. Say like appeal case in Minnesota, something like that. So you can remind me of why I should check that particular email. But yeah, do so. I don't know if I can find you the right person to do it, but if I can, I'll help happily. Fagan's Law says, take my money. Well, gladly. Thank you. Thank you. Because it was the state's money. Then it's your money. Now it's mine. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Hope you're doing well. Very fun. And then finally, Lido Enchanted says, happy Thanksgiving, chat. Oh, wait, one more. Gray Jedi 1981 says, have you seen the Attorney Shield vid I tagged you in on Twitter? Nope. Thoughts about the concept? Instant access to an attorney seems like a good thing. This Attorney Shield, is it one of those like prepaid legal services? Those are very common things. Your mileage is going to vary on them. The idea is typically like you pay a monthly fee. That monthly fee effectively pays for like an insurance policy. And if you end up in some legal trouble or have some legal issue, you can quickly talk to an attorney. And there's basically a retainer amount that your insurance policy premiums have paid for. It's not always done that way, but that's the best analogy I can come up with. Look, I mean, some people that find that useful, some don't. Really depends what you get into. You got to look into the terms of them. How much of a retainer are they going to cover? Do you have any say over who the attorneys are? What kind of influence does that have over your ability to have attorney-client privilege and attorney-client cooperation without imposition by a third party, which would be a violation of everybody's ethics if they did interfere with your relationship, but that doesn't mean that they wouldn't. So there's a lot that goes into that. I don't know specifically about that, but guys, if you tag me on Twitter, the odds of me seeing it are very small. I sometimes do, don't get me wrong, but like I get a bunch of different notifications for all sorts of stuff. Being tagged on Twitter does not trigger much. If you want me to see something, usually DMing me on Twitter is a great way to do it. So it's an app to have an attorney on the phone for traffic stops. Okay. I guess. I don't know. Do you get traffic stopped that much? I feel like I get traffic stopped more than most people I know, and it's still really rare, but I'm not sure. All right. And Zowie Fender Blast. So cheers and happy Thanksgiving. It's a dang chore getting the house ready plus food for a bunch of guests. I enjoy it though. I don't enjoy the chore. I enjoy having guests over. I enjoy eating. I enjoy all of that stuff. Thanksgiving is probably my favorite holiday, but I do not like getting the house ready and all that. All right, here we go. Let's do this. Let's get into this first subject. We're gonna hit this. We're gonna hit this Maryland handgun licensing law. WTOP News. Welcome to WTOP News. W Top, your news for tops, never for bottoms. All right, here we go. And you know I only care about tops because only tops would wear a shirt this fucking gay. With confidence, Maryland's handgun licensing law has been struck down by a federal appeals court. Go get the fuck out of here. Hey, what's up, Nina? How you doing? So this is from Baltimore. A federal appeals court on Tuesday struck down Maryland's handgun licensing law, finding that its requirements, which include submitting fingerprints for a background check and taking a 4-hour firearm safety course, are unconstitutionally restrictive. In a 2-1 ruling, judges on the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals, I'm guessing we're going to find out that the 2 judges are either Trump or Bush appointees, and the one is an Obama appointee, but we'll see. The Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals in Richmond said they considered the case in light of a U.S. Supreme Court decision last year that, quote, affected a sea change in Second Amendment law. And actually, now, I'm an English major, but I'm not perfect. That's the wrong affected. That's the wrong effect. It's affected, guys. It's affected. I think. I don't know who they're quoting here either. I guess the judges on the Fourth Circuit, they're quoting them. But maybe this is the rare case of using the affected to describe a verb rather than a noun. It's not often that it happens, but there is a rare case where I think affected is proper, but it's usually affected. So anyway, the underlying lawsuit was filed in 2016 as a challenge to a Maryland law filed in 2016. Bruin was decided in 2021. They filed this shit 5 years before Bruin existed. As a challenge to a Maryland law requiring people to obtain a special license before purchasing a handgun. Now, this is a big difference because if you look at, well, I think the fingerprinting is a little much. A 4-hour firearm safety course would be, I think, excessive, but not unheard of. The background check isn't a surprise for a concealed carry permit or a carry weapons permit, something like that. You see that very often. I do think the fingerprinting goes too far, but excuse me, having this as a requirement to purchase is pretty fucking egregious. I actually think that carry permits just in general, I think carry permits are a obvious, notorious violation of the Second Amendment. I cannot believe that carry permits are a thing that have withstood constitutional scrutiny, because it does say keep and bear arms. And we're like, well, you can bear arms. You have a right to bear arms, and it shall not be infringed, but you need a permit to do it. It's like, wait, what? What are you talking about? But at least we've seen that be consistently applied as a requirement for carrying firearms, sometimes concealed, sometimes not. But now they're saying, nope, this is just for purchases. So obviously we're finding this to be very, very egregious. I agree. This would never fly. Someone said, fingerprinting for abortions. You could never do it. You could never fingerprint for an abortion. It would be seen as one of the most egregiously offensive barriers to a quote unquote fundamental right, that it would be unacceptable. And this should always be the Second Amendment test. The initial Second Amendment test, in my opinion, is if this were applied to abortion before Roe was overturned, would it be acceptable? If the answer is no, it needs to be automatically disregarded. Because abortion is not an enumerated right. It is an implied or inferred right under the 9th and 14th Amendments. It is a part of substantive due process. It has nothing to do with these fundamental rights that we think of with speech, press, religion, guns, freedom from, cruel and unusual punishment, security in your person's papers, effects, and possessions. All of those things are written down, and they're very obvious, and they seem to be easier to pierce than abortions. So are the fetuses, to be fair. But like, we get there, and it's like, okay, let's take you at your argument and your word that you say abortion is this fundamental right that needs this level of protection. Why were they always so much better at protecting abortion than our basic rights that are written down and obvious? Why were they always better at it? It's crazy to think of it. Imagine having to take a 4-hour class before you could get that baby sucked out of your belly. No way under Roe would that be allowed. No way. And you don't even have to go to abortion. Here you go. Voting rights. Voting rights are not fundamental. Voting rights are not fundamental. So I know some people are sensitive about the abortion topic or whatever because they were aborted. They're kind of mad about it. But look, your voting rights are not fundamental. This country did not grant the right to a popular vote. They actually let states decide how voting would occur, especially in terms of the president of the United States, right? Senators were not popularly elected. The only popular vote that you may have had some level of right to would have been the House of Representatives. But even that, it was white land-owning men, typically, who had the quote-unquote right to vote. And they didn't really have a right. It was a privilege granted by the state. Their participation in the participatory government was restricted. It has become this idea that it is a fundamental right as well. And things like poll taxes or literacy tests, things like that have been roundly rejected as violating the Fourth Amendment, as barring certain groups of people from accessing a constitutional right. Just think about how hard it is to get an ID requirement on the vote, right? On a vote. You don't have a fundamental right to vote. I need to reiterate that. We kind of think we do because it seems like you should. It seems natural. And I may actually agree that there should be some fundamentality to the right to vote, but it's not there. Yet you can't impose a voter ID requirement because that is unconstitutional, apparently. But if you tried to put an ID requirement, if you tried to put an ID requirement on abortion, same thing. But you get to put an ID requirement on a gun purchase and a background check and a probable addition to a list, even if they say they don't. It's nuts how this right is treated. It's supposed to be so fucking fundamental that it's obvious. Everything in the Bill of Rights, all the specific rights they wrote down are not actually supposed to be special rights. And there was a huge contingent of people who said that the Bill of Rights is a bad idea because these things are obvious from the Constitution without an amendment. They're obvious. This is what it was intended to do, and they do not need to be written down. And if you write them down, you will limit the protection of rights to those things that are written down, which is almost always true. They were right about that, except for the second, because that one they're like, we don't care that they wrote it down. It's amazing. It's fucking amazing that it is treated in this way. But it is. Just Joy says, thanks for the laughs. Your blouse is beautiful. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Well, thank you, Just Joy. Thank you. But I got to say, this shirt looks pretty good on me, but it's going to look even better tonight when I throw it on the floor and go to sleep. It got surprisingly less sexual than it was supposed to be, which is the title of my sex tape. Okay, here we go. Back to this one. It's a camo print thing. It's not camo at all. It's just brown and cream. It's just brown and cream. And I think there's enough evidence out there on the interwebs to know why I would like that. Here we go. All right. Oh, so here we go. 4 hours of safe. Wait, the law passed in 2013, the aftermath of the mass shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School. And this is what we find, of course, is that mass shootings produce changes in law that have nothing to do with any of this. They all, mass shootings are the justification for changes in sweeping gun regulation that have nothing to do with the mass shooting and has nothing to do with overall crime. Right? Like, but they do it. They do it. So here we go. The law, it laid out a series of necessary steps for would-be gun purchasers, completing 4 hours of safety training that includes firing one live round. That's not safety training. One live round. Oh, thanks. What are you doing for the other 3 hours, 59 minutes, and 58 seconds? Submitting fingerprints, passing a background check, being 21, and residing in Maryland. I think being 21 is, again, offensive to the notion of a fundamental right. I actually think that 18 as a purchase requirement for guns is probably unconstitutional. That seems to be controversial, and I'm not sure why. I don't see where the right to keep and bear arms starts at 18. I don't see where your other rights start at 18 either. Your Fourth Amendment rights, Fifth Amendment rights, Sixth Amendment rights, third, second, third, first, second, definitely not, but seventh and eighth, all of those start when you're born. But for some reason, we're like, well, guns though. Guns are scary. 18 seems to be the thing. Why? Or 21 in some cases. How can we put an age restriction on a fundamental right? It doesn't make sense. But they have. Maryland Governor Wes Moore, a Democrat, said he was disappointed in the circuit court's ruling and will continue to cry in his cut corner. He said his administration is reviewing the ruling and considering its options. This is the problem, of course, is that Democrat governors and congressmen do not accept the Second Amendment as legitimate. They think it is an impediment to their desire to rule in a way which disarms the citizenry. They have always looked at it as a hurdle. It is always the thing that they see as one of the biggest blockers of their agenda. And they constantly push against it. Constantly. They will outright ignore the Supreme Court and pass a law right after a ruling that says a certain law can't work. They'll pass the exact same law. So common sense gun laws are critical to protecting all Marylanders from the gun violence that has terrorized our communities. Are they? Maryland gun violence stats. Maryland has the 42nd highest rate of gun suicides and gun suicide attempts in the U.S. So Maryland has a low suicide rate. It means they're 8th from the bottom. Let's see. Every year, an average of 514 people in Maryland die by gun homicides and 551 are wounded by gun assaults. Rate of 8.9 homicides and 9.1 assaults per 100,000 people. It's actually not that many. Maryland has the flip stat. 36% of gun deaths in Maryland are suicides, whereas 64% are homicides. Now, a lot of those would be accident. Some of those would be death by cop. Suicide tends to be a higher rate of gun death. Let's see, what else do we have? It's the 30th highest societal cost of gun violence in the U.S. That's not useful at all. Where do they rank on homicides? It's the 10th highest rate of gun homicides and gun assaults in the U.S. Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Probably because of the DC suburbs, honestly. Oh, what am I talking about? Baltimore's in Maryland. Fucking Baltimore. How many? Let's go to the cards. Let's see. 474 people in Maryland die by gun homicides a year. A Baltimore murder rate. Baltimore City homicides. Okay, cool. Time frame past 30 days. Let's go all of 2022. And then cause of death, shooting. 292 of those Maryland homicides, of which, again, they say 474 homicides per year. 292 of those are in Baltimore alone. Fuck Baltimore. What a shithole that is. Remember that movie Hairspray where John Travolta plays a fat woman? They try to make Baltimore seem cool there, but then you realize that John Travolta is a fat woman there that Christopher Walken would marry. You go, why would anyone want to go there? Why don't you just do common sense nuking of Baltimore? You could fix almost all of your crime right there. I'm determined to do more than just give thoughts and prayers and attend funerals. What a fucking cunt that guy is. And that's why this law is vital to our administration's commitment to keeping guns out of the wrong hands and saving lives. Hey, faggot, can I call you faggot? Here's the problem, you piece of shit. You don't know what hands are wrong to hold a gun until someone gets killed. You can't. That's called pre-crime. That's the thing that your boyfriend would get pregnant off of after he transitions. You can't predict who will do the killing from a blind purchase of a gun. And commerce has to be blind. If we didn't have liberty at all, we could reduce crime really easily. Bifron says, I can predict it. Yes, you can, with relative positivity, figure out which guns held by specific people are more likely to be used in gun violence. You can do it. You can demographically break it down. You can break it down by economics. You can break it down by race. You can break it down very effectively by gender. You can do all of these things. But in a system of essential liberty, you can't, because every purchase must be blind to those considerations. Because trust me, you don't want them. Tyranny would be very effective at curbing crime in Baltimore. Great. Here's how you do it. You want to buy a gun. Question 1, are you black? If yes, get arrested. Just in Baltimore, by the way. I love black people. Not in Baltimore, though. There you go. I just solved the overwhelming majority of gun crime in Baltimore with that one thing. If you go to a gun store, you have to fill out a question. This is tyranny. This is how tyranny works. You go to a gun store. You want to buy a gun. It says, are you black? If you check yes, a cop comes and arrests you. There you go. Solve the majority of gun crime in Baltimore right there. Do I like this? No. I believe in essential liberty. I accept the violence that liberty produces. I accept the violence and murder and death and sadness that liberty produces. Do you know why? Because 8.3 murders per 100,000 kind of fucking sucks. But under tyranny, misery is somewhere near 100,000 per 100,000. And the death rate, not the gun homicide rate, but the overall death rate in tyranny goes higher. So I will take the misery produced by gun crime in Baltimore if it means that they cannot do everything that comes with the ability to effectively state police from the purchase level based on demographics and thought crime. I'll take it. I'll take 8.3 homicides per 100,000. It's going to suck for the people whose family members die. I'm sorry. The solutions you want, though, the solutions you ask for will not. First of all, they probably wouldn't have saved your family member. If your family member is dying in Baltimore, you're probably a single mom and you're probably just mad that they lost the EBT card. Statistically, that's the likely outcome. And fuck, I hate myself for saying it. But I know people are going to die. It's going to be awful. You're going to hate life. You're going to be mad at everything. You're going to question why didn't the government come in and save Reggie or whatever? You're going to do those things. And I'm not trying to lessen your pain. I'm really not. It's terrible. The price of liberty is death. Give me liberty or give me death. Give me liberty and I accept the risk of death. Should be the proper saying. Because the alternative is give me tyranny and I accept the certainty of death. It's frustrating because people never want to consider the alternative. You can dominate crime really easily. Just don't let people do anything. I'm not willing to do that. I'll take the death. Rogue says Baltimore got a nickname, which is Murdermore. Fuck. Baltimore guy. Oh my God. I hope you're not getting arrested. It says Mayor Progresso has it to 237 homicides this year. Meanwhile, 1,000 people were shot. Mighty healthy. Omar coming. Look, enough soft A N-words kill Omar's boyfriend, and that murder rate goes through the goddamn roof. So anyway, let's keep going. Let's keep going on this. Baltimore guy enters the chat. I love you. I love you, chat. You have no idea. Dementia 6911 says, oh my God, that was your first time in Vegas? Yeah. Yeah, it was. February. I went back to Vegas, I think in June or July. Hung out with Dick Masterson, 80s girl. We had a great time. A lot of fun. I love Vegas. I could be there I could be there forever. I'd be broke. I'd probably die, but I'd have fun doing both of those things. But let me caveat that. This is a sidetrack, but hey, it's pre-Thanksgiving. Let me caveat that. I would be great in Vegas. I could be there and it's like my speed. It's always like I stay up really late. I've always been a night owl. Narcolepsy made it worse, but that it's like everything's open. People are around. I like talking to people, whatever. Have a fun time. I could do that. I could do that Vegas lifestyle forever. I would never, ever, ever in a million fucking years want to move to Vegas while I have children in my house. Nope. Would not do it. Ignore every other problem with that scenario. Vegas is not a town for children. It's not conducive to raising kids. It is not it's not any of that. When I say I could do Vegas forever, that is this weird fantastical idea that you have the ability to live a life of endless partying. You don't, right? If you have any obligations in your life at all, you can't do that. But in theory, when I say I could do Vegas forever, it's in contrast to people who say, we love going to Vegas. We can only be there for like 3 days. I know a bunch of friends who are like, man, three days is the max. 4 days, 5 days in Vegas, you burn out, you get whatever. I'm like, well, I wouldn't burn out. Like I'd have a blast, but you can't do that. Like practically as an adult, can't happen. You can't do that because you have children, responsibilities, and obligations. You have to earn the money you're going to lose in Vegas. I don't lose at gambling. I'd lose it on Snickers bars because those fucking Snickers bars, the Venetian cost like $8 for a Snickers bar. Fuck you, you Italian fucks. The Venetian. Oh, we're the Venetian. It's not even real Italy. Your gondola is under a fake sky. Anyway. Rick Nikita says, I know what you and the lead attorney did in private during Vegas. You can't hide your love of that man from us. Can't. No. Why would I? And I know you know what we did. You were watching. Cuck. Just kidding. Rick Nikita is my muscle car bro. Wait, maybe you are gay. The Fourth Circuit opinion by Judge Julius Richardson directly references a Supreme Court decision last year that found Americans have a right to carry firearms in public for self-defense. It's not Bruin. That ruling, which also came after a series of mass shootings, ushered in a major expansion of gun rights. This is the most fucking frustrating line. You cannot expand gun rights. I'm going to say howdy to Aussie and piss you off. Hello, Hayden, Aussie Overlord. Why would that piss me off? Also, Aussie, you're gay. When you read the Second Amendment, it says, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, comma, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. How do you expand gun rights from that? You cannot do it. You cannot do it. You cannot expand home gun rights from shall not be infringed. Those are maximum gun rights. I don't get it. Fucking, I hate these people. I hate everything they do and say. But hey, whatever. It also required gun laws to fall in line with the country's, quote, historical tradition of firearm regulation. In this case, Richardson and Judge G. Stephen Agee found no evidence of such alignment. Of course, because there isn't a historical analog for the idea that you need a license to purchase any gun. Flintlock pistols in 1791 and in 1868, I believe, could be purchased by literally a 5-year-old with a $3 bill or whatever. $3 bill, y'all. Dollar bill, y'all. Just walk in and put the money on the table and anybody could buy it because guns were not scary. They weren't. And I guarantee you, goddamn near everybody you guys know, every single person, if you go and you say, should gun purchases be restricted to people 18 and older? They'll go, yes, of course. Why wouldn't they? That will be their answer. Yes, of course. Of course. I tried D equals RT, but there's no distance. I think there's 2 times. What the fuck? Are you Chichuni, are you trying to do math as a woman in locals? I'm sorry. Don't do that. No, but this whole idea of, well, of course they should. No, of course they should not. There were no restrictions. None of this exists. If you live in Maryland and you want a handgun, you must follow a long and winding path to get one, Richardson wrote in the opinion. The challenge law restricts the ability of law-abiding adult citizens to possess handguns. The state has not presented a historical analog that justifies this restriction. Now, for them specifically, I majored in math. Yeah. Well, apparently you didn't graduate. I'm sorry, I'm being an asshole. I'm just joking. I didn't have to say it. You're being of course there's no historical analog for that case or for that regulation, because there was no concept that someone would not be able to buy a gun, particularly a handgun. Never, ever would you find that. But even if you want to say, well, we want to look to modern law, Heller, which Heller's kind of shit in a lot of ways. Scalia's a fag. But Heller, for whatever it did, most certainly protected the right of people to buy and own a handgun. Heller is the quintessential handgun law, if nothing else. But yet here they are. They're still trying to push on handguns. Heller specifically carves out handguns and says, yeah, these are the things you can't. This is the most common, most ubiquitous, most notorious firearm purchases that exist are handguns. Like, you cannot fuck with these. I'm like, let's fuck with those. But even the court also pointed to the timeline for obtaining a handgun qualification license, which could take up to 30 days. Up to 30 days. Even though Maryland's law doesn't prohibit people from owning handguns at some time in the future, it still prohibits them from owning handguns now, Richardson wrote. And the law's waiting period could well be the critical time which the applicant expects to face danger. Yes. Imagine you have acquired a stalker. Like for me, I have a weirdo stalker. Guys, I haven't really talked about this guy. I have this stalker. He emails everybody I know, and what he emails them very specifically, and this is 100% true and definitely not a joke. If you take various letters from what he says, what you find is in every single email, you have enough letters to sufficiently construct his true message, which is, I want to have gay sex with Nick Rekieta. And this is a guy named Terry Dean Nemmers. Terry Dean Nemmers definitely 100% wants to have gay sex with me. He's a stalker. All he can think about is me naked. He's like, God, he's a bottom though. He's a bottom. I figured that out, but he emails everybody I know all the time. And he's basically just asking them. He's like, how can I get Nick to penetrate me? I'm trying to do that. And I'm like, bro, this guy's in Minnesota too. He's weird. He's actually fucking creepy. He's a weirdo. He has a bunch of stalking charges. He has a bunch of, he's a storied history. I think he wants to drink Monograph's cum too, but I don't know. Like, I don't care what he does in his free time with Monty, but I know for me, he wants to have sex with me, but he wants me to have sex with him. That's a thing that's true. And again, I got this from the secret messages from every email he sends, has enough letters in it for me to say, or for me to read the secret message, which says, I want Nick Ricada to penetrate me. And I'm like, I won't do it. I won't do it. I don't know how to tell him. But Terry Dean Nemmers, will you please stop stalking me, you fucking weirdo? Can you just try not doing that? I don't want you in that way. What I want you is swinging from a fence post. Buy your underwear, like with a wedgie. Definitely not a noose. You menace to society and you fucking retard. The ADA provides, guys, every time. Every time the ADA provides. All right, so here we go. But they always do this. They provide a waiting period. If you acquire yourself a stalker who wants to drink various bodily fluids from you, and you're like, I don't want that to happen. Those go in my toilet, not in you, because he's a piss guy, I think. I don't know. He hasn't told me. He stopped contacting me a long time ago when I said, fuck off. If you contact me again, I will file a restraining order against you. And based on your history of restraining orders, I'm pretty sure I'll win. He did, to his credit, he stopped contacting me. He just literally emails all sorts of people I know almost every day. Almost every day. Dell says, show the emails. No, I'm not going to show the emails. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a book out of them. I'll have an assistant go through and highlight the letters that spell, I want to have gay sex with Ricada on everyone. That'll be the secret. Dude, people are so fucking weird on the internet. They're so weird. Look, you cannot like me all day. I have met people who not like me less than you. More than you? Is that a more or less than you? It's good. Do you know what happens when you drive by a homeless person in a Mustang GT 500 and you intentionally turn the exhaust up to maximum so it's super loud, and then you don't give them $5, and then you don't have $5, and you go, if Invader V were homeless, I wouldn't give her $5 either. And then you drive, and it's super. They hate me more than you. It's fine. That doesn't actually happen though. If I ever have any cash, I give it to homeless people immediately. I actually, it's kind of been a thing for me. If I have cash on me, I give it to homeless people right away. But seriously, lots of people have hated me more than you ever will. Just go do whatever else you want to do. This guy, this dude has deep quotes from old shows that I've done. And I'm like, how do you even have this? I don't remember saying this. Giovanni says, yeah, right. You pull a Patrick Bateman in the alley. Dude, why would you murder a homeless people? You want to get your clothes dirty? Gross. No, I actually, if I self-imposed a policy a long time ago because I don't carry cash. I almost never carry cash. And so this has burned me really fucking bad. If I have cash on me and I encounter someone who asks me for money, I give them all of it. Every single dollar I have, I give them everything in my pocket. Here you go. But I never carry, like, usually that may end up being $5. It's been a couple $100 before. When I didn't have any money, that's when it really sucked, when you got burned like $60 and you don't have any money. When I didn't have any money, I didn't keep cash on me. When I was in law school, I would drive by homeless. There were homeless people all the time. Well, allegedly homeless people all the time. On the side of the road with the sign on this exit I took every day, every time I drove in. And what I started doing was I would buy boxes of cereal. I'd have several boxes of cereal in my car. And then if I would stop at the stoplight and they'd come up and they'd be like, "Hey man, can you help me out? Anything helps." I'd hand them a box of cereal because I'm like, that's a shitload of food and a lot of calories and good nutrition. It's got carbs. It's got fortified by vitamins. I feel like you could just munch cereal all day. I would do that a lot. I thought that was a good thing. But I still had the same. If I had any cash on me, they got it. I just normally don't. All right, here we go. Back to this. We'll switch over to Rumble in a second. Satoichi's Cane Sword says, "Well, you're dumb." Why? Slim Plistic says, "That's pure sugar, bro." Well, yeah. I mean, I gave them the gift of diabetes and an early death. What are you mad about? Is that how you met Drex? Yes. Mitch says, "I'm a full-timer K to A-log and I live in the sewer. Please don't follow my footsteps." Why do you live in a sewer? It's weird. Let's get back. We're going to finish this article. Then we'll go over to, I fucking hate you, locals. We'll go over to Rumble exclusively. But yeah, what I was saying though is they never consider the fact that you might need defense today. If you get a stalker today, you need to defend yourself today. If you have an abusive ex today, you need to defend yourself today. If you get in an argument with Hispanic at a Subway, you need your defense today. You don't need it in 30 days, 10 days, 2 days, 3 days. Waiting periods get people killed. So, but in her dissenting opinion, read that again. But in her dissenting opinion, Judge Barbara Milano Keenan. How much do we want to bet on Obama appointee? Barbara Milano Keenan. Appointed by Barack Obama. Of fucking course she was. Said her colleagues misapplied the Supreme Court precedent. She condemned their hyper-aggressive view of the Second Amendment. How? How do they misapply it, you dumb fucking cunt? You dumb cunt. I'm so goddamn tired of these judges. Judges think that they're smart. Judges are not smart. They're not special. They don't have some special view of the law. They do not have anything else. You can find 1 trillion lawyers smarter than every judge. You know how you know they're smarter than every judge? Because they do personal injury and the judge doesn't, and they make money and the judge is making their baseline salary. I got a lifetime appointment. Who cares? Who cares? Attorney Tom makes more on one settlement than what Barbara Milano Keenan is going to make in 10 years as a judge. I got an appointment. Attorney Tom may not even live a decade. He's got dwarfism. He's at a high risk of all sorts of disease and ailments. He'll probably die tomorrow. Barbara Milano Keenan will not make the same amount of money. One settlement, and he'll out-earn her. Instead of reversing the district court ruling that was issued before the 2022 Supreme Court decision, Keenan argued the case should instead have been remanded to the lower court for reconsideration because there is no legitimate reason to short-circuit the judicial process. This is the most cop-out thing she could write. Okay, so if you don't know how this works, the appeals court has a couple options. They can reverse the district court decision and then impose a new decision. They can accept the district court decision, right, and let it go. Or they can reverse and remand, where they say the district court decision was improperly decided. They don't say it was wrongly decided. It's improperly decided. And then we're going to remand it back to them with instructions to follow this particular aspect of law, apply this test, do this thing when you reconsider this, but it has to go back to court. That's reversing and remanding. She is not saying that the appeals court is wrong. She's saying that the appeals court should have remanded it so that the district court could have decided based on the appeals court's instructions. That's what she's saying. Stupid. The appeals court's right. District court was fucking wrong. The district court was not going to remand it and then come to a more correct conclusion than the appeals court could produce. The appeals court did not need to send it back for remand or reconsideration because they knew the answer. The answer was, if you apply the Bruin test, which would be the demand on remand, we're going to send it back to you. You need to apply the Bruin historical analog test. And they're like, I can't spell analog without anal, so I don't know how to do this. If they come back with any other answer than throwing out the law, the appeals court is again going to have to rule. But they don't have to, because the historical analog test cannot be passed. Why remand it? Just reverse it. Just reverse it. The times that you would have a reverse and remand is when there are possible other avenues to come to a similar judgment based on different evidence on the record. Then you can reverse and remand it. Relook at it, apply this test to this reasoning, which may have short-circuited other reasoning. And then if you get past this, you go to the next thing. This one doesn't need any. The Bruin test defeats it. Who said? Eric Pie My Sack says, sorry you have a fetish. Wait, who has a fetish and what is it? If you have a fetish, by the way, join Locals, recadolaw.locals.com. I don't care what your fetish is. You'll be shamed for it. Agee and Richardson were appointed by Republican presidents, while Keenan was appointed by a Democrat. The Supreme Court's 2022 ruling, its first major gun decision in more than a decade, was similarly split, with the court's conservatives in the majority and liberals in the dissent. Mark Pennock, a president of the advocacy group Maryland Shall Issue, which brought the lawsuit challenging the state licensing requirement, said he's pleased with Tuesday's ruling, so it removes an unnecessary tangle of red tape. It's a big win for common sense in the rule of law. He said Pennock said the 2013 law made obtaining a handgun an overly expensive and arduous process. For that law passed, he said, people had to complete a more limited training and pass background check, among other requirements. Also, too onerous. Guys, if you have ever had to take a 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour, however many, a lesson to exercise your gun rights, imagine that. Oh, I want to buy a gun. You go to a store, you can buy a new handgun, $700, $800. Buy a used handgun, $300, $400. Suddenly it's $500 with the 4 hour training requirement. $500, $600. Like you add $100 to $200 from that training requirement. That's fair, right? Just go ahead and add 20 to 25% of the cost of the gun. Just do that. Don't worry about it. Books and Browncoat says, do you have a source for your line about all gun laws being racist? Yeah, simple. The majority of guns are black or brown, or black and brown. Banning them is racist. All right, guys, we're going to do this. I'm going to read the super chats on YouTube. There's a couple left. I've been reading them as they come in. Thank you so much for the super chats. I always appreciate them. We're going to read them. We're going to go over to Rumble exclusively, and then I'm going to say faggot a whole bunch. It's not actually true. I'm not going to do that. What I am going to say is Zatoichi's cane sword. The point is they're making normal people look like complete fanatics. It's frightening. Yes, of course. Of course. Kurt, too. Welcome to lawyer status. This is the crazy thing about all gun laws and gun restrictions. They're trying to make gun ownership an indication of instability or criminality. It never was. It isn't. The overwhelming majority of guns, there's 300 something million guns in the United States, privately owned. And almost all of them, well over 99%, are never used in a gun crime ever. That's all you need to know that it's bullshit. American Legend says, what scares me the most are a lack of gun ownership and dumb cops who just take orders blindly, but the goddamn thin blue line many of you still believe in. I'm sorry, but not all cops are good. Look, the thin blue line thing, Conservatives own it. Conservatives own it. You need to own this because it's the only way you'll get better. Conservatives still simp for cops. Jay Lieb got, yes, Rumble mod is a thing, although I don't know what on earth you would mod on Rumble. It is a thing. I can mod you on Rumble. It's just kind of a pain in the ass. But yeah, it does exist. It's really only for spam accounts and scamming shit. But conservatives simp for cops at such a fucking high rate. You got to get off this back the blue shit. Look, I know you got a cousin, uncle, brother, probably a brother who's married to one of your cousins. Like you have one of those that is a cop. That's fine. You can love them. They're great. You can trust them all day. Stop backing the blue. There's only one time in history where we can say this. Only one time in history where we can say this. The blacks were right. They were just right for the wrong reasons. They thought it was because cops were racist and that American law enforcement had institutional racism issues. Nope. They're wrong on the why. They're right on cops being a problem because cops are a problem. The system makes them a problem. Does it mean all cops are bad people? No. Does it mean that one cop you know that makes you back the blue because they're totally cool and no other, like you, the only cop you ever known was definitely 100% legit because they definitely only tell you, or they always tell you about the good and the bad shit they do. They never only tell you about the good shit. Whatever you want to do, simp for your cop all day. I'll never stop you. I want every cop to go home safe, by the way. I want every cop to go home at the end of the day. I want them to go into their bed and I want them to like cry into their Pabst or whatever they're drinking. And I want them to go to sleep and wake up realizing that they make less money than a school teacher and they might get shot by a black guy in Baltimore. I want every cop to go home safe every day. But speaking of but, ask Wednesday and locals. You cannot tell me that agents of the state who routinely suppress and oppress your rights are universal goods. It's not their fault. The system makes them that way. Don't simp for them. Don't justify their bad behavior because you're like, well, I hate this demographic more. The demographic you should hate more than everyone is government, period. If you have a friend, you're like, oh, but my friend has great integrity and they work for the government. Get them out of the government. You know what they should be other than a government employee? Homeless. Just be homeless instead. Fuck the government. Fuck these people. Do not back the blue. No thin blue line. Nothing. They will come. They will kick down your door. They will take your rights. They will call you Jaqual while you're like, but I'm white. My name is Eric. They will call you Jaqual. They'll kick you down. They'll handcuff you behind your back. They'll say, stop resisting. They'll tase you. They'll shoot your dog. Your kid will be crying. Your wife will be crying. You'll be crying because you're a bitch who let them in the first place. Because you're like, oh, when the government shows up, I should probably listen. Nope. They will call you by the name of the black guy they were actually looking for, but they just got the address wrong. How'd they get the address wrong? Who cares? How many of you have done that? How many of you, show of hands, have put in a GPS? Like your friend's like, oh, I'm at this address. They send you the address. You put in a GPS. You drive to the address and you go, well, here is 1523. What I'm going to do, though, that's where I'm supposed to go. I look at it. It says 1523 on the wall. Over there is 1521. Instead of going to 1523, I'm going to go to 1521 and I'm going to hip thrust, knock on the door with my dick. How many of you have ever done that? Who has? You know who has? Almost every cop you know has gone to the wrong fucking address. You know why? I don't either. I didn't think they were retarded. I didn't think they couldn't read numbers, but over and over, all the time, you find cops entered wrong home. They had the correct address. They entered the wrong one. How do you do this? How do you walk up with a battering ram and be like, what number is it the right number? You're like, I didn't even look, bro. Poof, knock the door off its hinges. It happens all the fucking time. It's crazy how often it happens. And I bet none of you have ever done it. You know why? Because I've never done it. If someone sends me an address, I've never gotten out of my car, looked around, go, you know what? I'll rely on the GPS. I've never even seen numbers before in my life. I'm going to go just walk into this house. No one's done this. But cops do it all the time. Back the blue, thin blue line. It's all bullshit. They're not bad people. They're just cops. They just work for government, and government workers are suspect inherently. All right. We're going to move over to Rumble. Thank you all for hanging out. I am going to go to the bathroom in a minute. So we'll do the Rumble transition. Then I'll play the Peeing Wasted Lawyer song. We'll keep going. And then we are doing a local stream tonight, even though I don't want to because it's the night before a holiday, which means I should have an excuse. But I don't have an excuse. That would just be an excuse. So I'm going to do Rumble and hang out with you guys. I'm going to lick your underarms. If you want your underarms licked, the Rumble link is in the description on YouTube. It is in the pin chat. And the locals link is in, recadalaw.locals.com. Come hang out with us. See you there. If you're in locals right now, all you're seeing is pictures of butts that belong to women who have butts that you want to see. Because it's Ass Wednesday. It's a tradition. If you like seeing female butts, that should be not Miss Nepal. There are not enough gigabytes on Earth for Miss Nepal. But if you like seeing women's buttocks, booties, whatever, that are pleasing and aesthetically correct, recadalaw.locals.com every Wednesday. Catch you on Rumble, guys. Have a nice night. If you don't come over to Rumble, first of all, gay. Second of all, have a good Thanksgiving. See you tomorrow night. I believe I'll be broadcasting tomorrow. I don't have anything that would prevent me from broadcasting on Thanksgiving that I know of. And some of you I know, like, don't have family to hang out with or whatever. Come hang out with me. We'll sweat together. We'll huff. Have a good night, guys. Peace. Peace. Oh shit, did I miss the entire outro. Fuck you, YouTube. Susan Wojcicki was a martyr. She was killed by an Indian man who's the new CEO because he said, "Look, wife burn." I don't know what he did. He probably just tech supported her because women can't use technology.